They call me Resurrection Mary. Some say I'm just a story, a whispered dare among late-night drinkers leaving the ballroom, or a ghost tale passed from cab driver to cab driver. But I'm not a story. I'm not a rumor. I am here, as real as the chill that creeps up your spine when you know someone is watching you in the dark. For almost a century, I've been walking this stretch of Archer Avenue. It's a long, lonely road, cutting through the outskirts of Chicago. During the day, it's harmless enough. Cracked asphalt, chain link fences, the occasional rusted sign swaying in the wind. But at night it becomes something else. The mist rises off the pavement. The streetlights flicker like they're afraid to stay lit, and the silence swallows every sound except the slow rhythm of my footsteps. I always wear the same dress. White. Simple. The kind a girl might wear to a dance, with a skirt that brushes my knees and a fitted waist that belonged to another era. My shoes are the same too. Thin straps, scuffed from endless miles. No matter how far I walk, they never wear out. Time doesn't touch me here. Nothing does. I don't remember how many drivers have seen me. Hundreds, maybe more. Some slow down as they pass, curious, eyes darting in their mirrors until I vanish into the fog. Others stop. Those are the ones who matter. I don't wave. I don't call out. I just stand there at the edge of the road, looking lost. They open their door without thinking, as if something inside them insists they must. When they ask where I'm going, I tell them the same thing every time. Take me to Resurrection Cemetery. Most don't question it. Maybe they think I've been at a party nearby. Maybe I've had too much to drink. Maybe I just need a ride. But by the time we reach the gates, they realize something is wrong. The air turns colder. The lights inside the car flicker. And before they can speak, I'm gone. I never get past those gates. I've tried. I've pushed against them, clawed at the cold iron bars, screamed into the wind, but something won't let me through. It's as if the cemetery itself is holding me out, forcing me to linger here, just close enough to see where I belong, but never close enough to rest. You might think this is a punishment, that I'm trapped here for some sin I can't remember. Or maybe it's something worse. Maybe I remember exactly why I'm here, and I can't bear to admit it. The truth is, I don't tell my story to everyone, only to those who look me in the eye long enough to see that I am not flesh and blood, only to those who feel the cold and understand what it means. So if you're ever driving down Archer Avenue late at night and you see me, a girl in white, walking alone, you have a choice. You can keep driving, pretend you didn't see me, let me fade back into the mist. Or you can stop, roll down your window, ask me where I'm headed, And if you do, you'll hear the words I've spoken for decades, the only words I can speak without trembling. Take me to Resurrection Cemetery, but you won't be taking me home. Before I became a whisper on Archer Avenue, I was just Mary, 19 years old, living in Chicago in the winter of 1934. My world was small but warm. A 2-story brick house with lace curtains, a radio humming big band tunes in the evenings, the smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen on Sunday mornings. We didn't have much, but I had my youth, my dreams, and a closet with one perfect dress. It was white, not the pure white of a wedding gown, but soft ivory, stitched by my own hands. I'd worked for weeks on it, cutting and sewing in secret. I wanted it to be the dress I wore to the Willowbrook Ballroom, the most glamorous place I knew. Under the ballroom's golden lights, with the floor full of dancers and the air alive with music, I wanted to feel like I belonged. The Willowbrook was magic to me. I can still hear the creak of its polished wooden floor, the way it gave slightly beneath the quick steps of a foxtrot. I can still see the couples whirling past in a blur of color, the trumpet section gleaming under the spotlights, the laughter ringing like bells. For a girl like me, it was the closest I'd ever come to a fairy tale. And then there was him. His name, well, it doesn't matter now. Tall with a crooked smile, always smelling faintly of tobacco and cologne. He wasn't perfect, I knew that even then, but he made me feel seen, as if the rest of the world blurred and there was only me in his eyes. That night, I was sure it would be our best yet. I curled my hair, dusted a little powder over my cheeks, and slipped into my white dress. The air outside bit at my skin as I walked to the streetcar, the hem of my skirt catching the glow of the street lamps. I remember holding my ticket tightly in my gloved hand, my heart pounding in rhythm with the clatter of the tracks. When I stepped into the ballroom, everything felt exactly as it should. The band was playing a fast swing number, couples moving in perfect time. He was already there, leaning against the bar, watching the dancers with that easy smile. I thought he was waiting for me, but as the night went on, the warmth in his eyes cooled. He danced with others, laughed with strangers, barely looked my way. When I finally asked him why, his answer was sharp, his tone careless. It was as if I'd suddenly become invisible. I remember the way my chest tightened, the way my hands trembled against the soft folds of my skirt. The music swelled, the crowd cheered for the band's final set, but it was all a dull roar in my ears. Without another word, I turned and walked out into the cold. The moment the ballroom doors shut behind me, the warmth was gone. The night air was sharp, slicing through my dress. Snow flurries danced in the yellow pools of the streetlights, and the road stretched ahead, empty, silent, endless. I didn't look back. I didn't even think about how far it was to Archer Avenue. All I knew was that I had to walk. I didn't know that with every step, I was walking toward the last night of my life. The snow fell harder as I made my way down the road. Each flake stung my cheeks, clung to my lashes, melted on the fabric of my dress. The cold seeped into my bones, but I kept walking. My heels clicked against the pavement in a steady, stubborn rhythm, a sound that was almost comforting in the emptiness. Archer Avenue was quiet that night. Too quiet. No laughter spilling from the ballroom doors behind me, no streetcars rattling in the distance. Just the long stretch of road, lit only by the occasional flickering street lamp. I replayed his words in my mind, sharper than the winter air. I'd left in anger, but the further I walked, the more the anger faded into something heavier, a sinking feeling in my stomach, as though I'd stepped off a ledge and was still falling. Then I saw them, headlights. They appeared far ahead, a pair of pale yellow eyes cutting through the mist. Relief bloomed in me for a moment. Maybe I could wave them down. Maybe they'd take me home. But as the car drew closer, the hum of its engine grew louder and faster. I stepped to the side of the road, the hem of my dress brushing against the icy grass. I raised a hand. The lights swerved, not away from me, but toward me. It happened too fast to think. A blinding glare, the scream of tires biting into the road, the deep, shattering thud. The world tilted. The snow and sky blurred together into a cold, colorless haze. I couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel anything at all. For a moment, I thought I heard someone's voice shouting, muffled, frantic, and then the sound drained away, like water slipping through my fingers. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes, I was standing, not lying on the ground, not broken in the snow, standing. The wind curled around me, but I felt no cold. My dress, which should have been torn or bloodied, was perfect. My shoes still gleamed under the weak streetlight. The car was gone. No tire marks, no footprints. Only the empty road stretching in both directions, endless and still. I began to walk again, not because I chose to, but because my feet carried me forward, as though pulled by an invisible thread. I didn't know where I was going until the gates rose up out of the mist. Tall black iron bars, their pointed tips like teeth. Resurrection Cemetery. I stopped just outside, my hand brushing the cold metal. I thought I could hear something beyond the gates, a distant hum, like music played far away. But when I tried to push them open, they did not move. I tried again, and again. My hands began to tremble, though not from the cold. Something was keeping me out, and that was when I realized I had walked this road for the last time as Mary. From now on, I would walk it as something else. #exclamation meta, pause, sexcates 0.5. #exclamation meta, pause, sexcates 0.5. The first time I realized what I had become was the first time someone stopped for me. It was weeks after that night, or maybe days, or maybe years. Time had already begun to lose its meaning. All I knew was the road, the endless rhythm of my footsteps, and the pull that always brought me back to Archer Avenue. That evening the fog was thick, curling low around the pavement like a living thing. The glow from the street lamps barely touched the edges of the mist, turning the world into a tunnel of pale gold and shadow. That's when I saw the truck. It was an old Ford, the kind with a rounded cab and a wide chrome grille. Its headlights cut through the fog like knives, and for a moment I thought they might pass right through me. But they slowed. Brakes squealed, the engine idled, low and rumbling, as the driver leaned across the seat and pushed open the passenger door. "You need a lift, miss?" His voice was warm, friendly, completely unaware. I stepped closer. I didn't feel the cold anymore, but I noticed the way his breath puffed into the air like smoke. He didn't shiver. Not yet. I nodded and climbed in. The cab smelled faintly of gasoline and leather. The seat dipped slightly under my weight, or maybe it was just the way he shifted when I sat down. He gave me a quick glance, his smile dimming just a little as his eyes lingered on my dress. "Where are you headed?" I looked straight ahead, my voice steady but soft. "Resurrection Cemetery." He chuckled nervously. "Late night for a visit, huh?" I didn't answer. The road ahead was all I could see. The way the headlights swallowed the fog, the way the dark seemed to close in behind us as we moved. After a few minutes, I noticed his fingers tightening on the steering wheel. His breath had quickened, fogging up the glass. The heater hummed, but the air inside the cab had grown colder. Much colder. "You feel that?" he muttered. "Feels like we're driving into an icebox." We turned the final corner and the gates came into view. Tall, black, and glistening with frost, they stood like sentinels in the mist. "Here?" he asked. "Yes." He pulled over to the side of the road. I kept my eyes on the gates as my hand reached for the door handle, but before I could touch it, I was already outside. One moment I was sitting in his truck, the next I was standing on the side of the road, the fog swirling around my legs, the iron gates only a few steps away. I didn't look back at him, but I heard him, the sharp inhale of breath, the muttered curse, the slam of his truck door as he scrambled out to see where I'd gone. His boots crunched against the gravel, but when he reached the spot where I had been, there was nothing, only the mist. I stood just beyond his sight, my pale fingers wrapped around the cold bars of the cemetery gate. I didn't call out. I didn't wave. I simply waited until he gave up, climbed back into his truck, and drove away. The moment his taillights disappeared into the dark, I turned back toward Archer Avenue. The road was waiting for me. It always was. That was my first ride home, and it would not be my last. The years have bled together. I can't tell you how many winters I've walked this road, how many summers I've drifted through the heat without feeling it. The snow no longer melts on my skin, the rain no longer soaks my dress. Seasons change, decades pass, but Archer Avenue never truly changes for me. It is always night. It is always the same stretch of road, and I am always walking. At first, I thought each encounter might set me free. Each time a car slowed beside me, I hoped it would be the last. But the rides came and went, like ripples on the surface of a dark lake, and I always found myself back where I started, at the edge of the road, the mist curling around my feet. The drivers began to talk. Cab drivers swapped stories late at night at diners. Truckers told each other to watch for the girl in white near the cemetery. Some called me an angel, others a devil. A few claimed I'd spoken to them, that my voice had been cold as the grave. Not all the rides were the same. Some drivers never made it to Resurrection Cemetery. They'd take a wrong turn, or maybe I made them, and end up miles away, confused, swearing they'd followed the right road. Others would drop me off and speed away, their faces pale, their hands trembling on the wheel. Then there were the ones who lingered, who couldn't stop thinking about me. I could feel their obsession growing, like a thread tying them to me. Some came back, driving the same road night after night, hoping to see me again. A few did. Most didn't. Once, in the 1950s, a young man picked me up in a gleaming red Chevy. He had the look of someone who thought he could charm the world. He smiled the whole way, his hand resting casually on the seat between us. But when we reached the gates, his smile faltered. The temperature in the car dropped so fast the windshield frosted over. I turned my head toward him, slowly, and in the dim light, I let him see what I truly was. He didn't scream. He didn't even speak. He just stared, his eyes wide, his breath caught in his throat. And then I was gone. For weeks after, I felt his presence on the road, searching for me. Then, one night, he didn't come. I never saw his red Chevy again. They call me a legend now, the Vanishing Hitchhiker, the ghost of Archer Avenue. My name appears in books, in whispered stories told to frighten children, but they never tell it right. They make me harmless, a curiosity to laugh about over coffee. They don't speak about the weight of my gaze in the rearview mirror, or the way the air freezes when I'm near. They don't speak about the ones who never made it past the gates. And so I walk. I watch the lights of the city glow in the distance, unreachable. I listen to the hum of tires on wet pavement, waiting for another pair of headlights to break the darkness, because every driver thinks they're just giving a girl a ride until they realize she's been dead for almost 100 years. If you see me, you'll know. It doesn't matter how late it is or how thick the fog or how fast you're driving. There's something about the moment our eyes meet, something that makes your foot ease off the gas, your hands loosen on the wheel, and your head turn just for a second too long. I'll be standing by the side of the road, always the same place, always the same dress. The white fabric will catch the pale glow of your headlights, my hair falling over one shoulder, my skin too pale for the living. I won't wave. I won't call out, I'll just watch you, waiting for you to make the choice. You'll pull over. You always do. The door will creak open and you'll glance at me in that small rectangle of light, like you're not sure whether to smile or to shiver. I'll slide in beside you, my dress whispering against the seat, and you'll notice the air shift. It's not the kind of cold you feel on your skin, it's the kind that seeps deeper into your lungs, your bones, your thoughts. You'll want to speak, to make small talk, but you won't. My presence will settle over you like frost. Where to, you'll ask, and I'll tell you. Resurrection Cemetery. The road will seem longer than it should. Street lamps will flicker, shadows stretching across the pavement in strange shapes. The hum of your engine will fade into the background, replaced by the pounding of your own heartbeat. When the gates appear, you'll feel it. The sudden drop in temperature, the way your breath comes out in clouds, even inside the car. You'll pull to the side, and maybe you'll glance at me just to make sure I'm still there. I will be, until I'm not. You'll blink, and the seat beside you will be empty. Your door will still be closed, your window still rolled up. No footprints in the snow, no sign that anyone was ever there at all. You'll sit there, staring at the gates, wondering if you imagined me. But when you drive away, you'll find your hands shaking. You'll glance in the mirror more times than you can count, and later, when you tell someone what happened, you'll hear the disbelief in their voice. They won't believe you, but you'll believe me, because you'll remember my face. You'll remember the way I looked at you, like I could see straight through the skin and bone to the truth of you. You'll remember the cold, and if you're like some of the others, you might find yourself driving Archer Avenue again and again, hoping to see me one more time. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I won't. But if I am, and if you stop, just know you're not taking me home. You're taking me back to where I've always been. And once you've met me,